All right, what's up, Mortgage Coach community? Every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, we are here to interview amazing mortgage professionals, leaders. This is a really special call because this call is VA strategies, how to put more heroes into homes. And so we've got a couple mortgage coaches, 3 mortgage coaches that have all done over 1,000 total cost analysis. So these are grand masters that advise all families with more than a fee worksheet. But they're going to share some strategies of how they're using Mortgage Coach to deliver better advice to military folks. Also, we got Dan Rawich as a special guest. About halfway through the call, he's going to share a story about a Vietnam vet in need. Part of the inspiration for this call was Dan had posted on his Facebook a couple months ago, or maybe a month ago, that just he had this personal relationship with this Vietnam vet that's 80 years old that needs help. Dan Keller saw it and said, "Hey, Rawich, we got to bring this into the Mortgage Coach community and we got to help this hero." So in that call, which was a little over a month ago when Dan's update, Todd Bookspan and I donated $1,000. As a community, we've raised about $3,000. But one of our hopes for this call, and it really is designated to Richard, is to raise at least $10,000. We'll share more about that about halfway through the call and make an ask. So for now, let's get started. We got Mr. Rick Bettencount. Let's just go around, make sure everybody knows who's who. Rick, if you could tell, just give us less than a minute on your mortgage practice, what kind of volume you do, and we'll have everybody do an introduction.
Rick Bettencount from Boston and area manager with Caliber. Let's see, this 2021, I'm going to finish off at about 88, 89 million at about 75% VA. And been working in the service member space now. I start my 20th year, March 2022.
Well, in a minute, once we go around with the introductions, I'm going to play Rick's presentation from the Modern Mortgage Summit because it really sets the table. It was spectacular. Tom Sherman, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about yourself and how much service business you do.
Yeah, great. Actually coming to you from way South Texas, so my internet may be a little bit unstable. We're down here at a big summit here for Benchmark, but plan on closing out 2021 just north of 151 million, and we'll do about 25 to 30% VA business out of our branch.
Yeah, and you've got a great branch, does a lot of volume. Tom and I did a call a couple weeks ago with Todd Bellinger on how to turn your advice into a competitive advantage. So check that out. Tom is a very innovative leader. He's had his own insurance practice. So there's a whole call we could do on that. But today is about military. Dan Keller, I don't know that you need much introduction, but why don't you do a little something for any new loan officers on the call that this is the first Mortgage Coach call they've been on.
Well, this is the first Mortgage Coach call you've been on. Buckle up, because that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to learn from Rick and Tom and all you guys, how to serve our veterans better. I'm up here in Seattle, and most people don't realize this about Seattle. We are surrounded by Navy bases and Air Force bases. And then you go east of Eastern Washington, and just loaded full of veterans and active duty servicemen and women. And so this last year, I'll be in 2021, just shy of 200 million in production, and about 13% of that VA. So not like Rick, where, that would just be amazing to serve 3/4 of your business serving veterans. How fulfilled and fulfilling would that be? But I'm just excited to learn from these pros. This is going to be fun.
Love that. And we've got Deborah Bird on, social media guru, the founder of plugandplaysm.com. What's up, Deborah?
Good morning. Y'all like my shirt today?
Yeah, let's win by noon, man.
Yeah.
By noon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so, Deborah, we want to have these top producers share their stories, but try to listen to what they have and then talk about how to one-to-many that. Oh, cool idea. Here's a social media post. Here's a way to email that. So if you could kind of one-to-many all the strategies that you hear.
Yeah, I actually just did that with Tom's right-hand man GP with one of his posts that he was going to send out. That was for a VA loan. So maybe I'll share that at the end if we have time. So
we'll make time. We'll make time.
Yep.
And then Todd, you're Mr. Win by Noon and call it the resident coach. So jump in with any call to actions or how to make the most of this call. Sound good, buddy?
All right. Yeah, I'm totally fired up to be here. You know, it's fun. Obviously, we do these calls every week, Dave and I. And this is the most excited I've seen him for a call in quite a while, and certainly got me excited to be here as well with all of you. And I'm looking forward. I know we're going to play Rick's micro presentation from one of our recent modern summits, and it blew me away the way that he frames talking to veterans. So I can't wait to share that again with the community.
All right, well, let's get after it, guys. We might go a few minutes long on this call because we got a lot of content, but let's kick it off with the opening presentation. The presentation from Rick Bettencount at the Modern Mortgage Summit. And for all you that bought the 1-year pass, you still have access to this. So let's check it out.
Benefit administrator. I want to talk to everyone out there about what that is when it comes to a VA home loan. Hey, you guys, my name is Rick Bettencount. Honored to have a couple minutes to chat with you. 19 years ago, I got in this business and I quickly identified an insanely underserviced community in the US. And those are our active duty service members and our veterans, our Gold Star families. Listen, we work in one of the greatest professions out there. One of the few professions that actually has the ability to chip away at an unrepayable debt that all of us, all of you, owe our service members. When a service member veteran goes to get a VA home loan, you guys, we're not salespeople, right? It's not about the unit. It's not about transactions. It's not about getting your name on boards or lists. It doesn't mean anything. We are actually benefit administrators helping a hero use an actual benefit that they earned with the service of their country. FHA, USDA, convention, all that, they're all great loan programs, but we're working with a benefit. We're changing lives. We're helping hero. We're putting more veterans in more homes. We're helping veterans understand where they can save money in a refinance. And Mortgage Coach is phenomenal, you guys, at helping become insanely transparent, financially transparent with our men and women that are out there actively looking for a home or they're actively looking for a refinance. When I decided to start working with service members, my business was maybe 5% VA. Now it's almost 85% VA and a non-VA market. I'm outside of Boston, you guys. We don't have a lot of active bases. I talk funny. And, I've built this business by turning my mindset around from not a salesperson trying to get a unit or put my name on a wall, but I'm a benefit administrator putting more heroes in more homes. And I'm telling you, if you change the way you think about how you approach this particular part of being a mortgage professional, you are going to get better. You're going to create relationships, not transactions. You're going to be able to change lives, okay? Not just get paychecks. It's insanely rewarding. And when you think about the fact that only 14% of all veterans in the US use their VA benefit, 7.5% in Massachusetts, the opportunity to change lives, it's there right in front of you. And the mentors at this summit, Mortgage Coach, all the other mortgage professionals in the US that specialize in VA, we share ideas all the time. We all have the ability to do more for our men and women that have given so much. And I've worked with them all, you guys. I've worked with active duty. I've worked with Gold Star. I've worked with surviving spouse. I've worked with veterans, Korean War, you name it. I've worked with them all. And the tools that we have here today at our summit and the tools that we have through Mortgage Coach creates the most incredible, financially transparent abilities to help heroes with what they're trying to do, buy or refinance. And it's made a huge difference in my life when I changed my way of thinking. So take that salesperson hat, throw it out when you're working with a veteran, and put on your benefit administrator hat, and then get into the nitty gritty. Ask all the right questions, you guys. Residual income, dependents, things like that, and do a great job and use the tools that we have here to do right, to make a difference in that hero's life. I'll tell you, it changed the way I think. So go out there, you guys, use our tools. talk to your mentors, talk to the people that are here, and go out there and change heroes' lives and make it a pledge to put more veterans in more homes. That's our mission, you guys. Thank you and enjoy your conference.
Rick Bettencourt, you killed it, brother.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, just a great opening to the call. And, as a leader, a mortgage coach, and that really resonated with me. And I really want everybody to think about that. When people think of mortgage coach, they think, oh, it improves my conversion rate. It helps me win against rate shoppers. And guys, it does all that, but it provides someone with more financial literacy. And when it comes to doing a loan, if you really get around the concept that doing a VA loan is a benefit, well, for all you leaders out there, the benefit should come with, here are options, transparency of cost over time, and strategies to pay off that debt and achieve the true American dream, which is home ownership that is debt-free and financial freedom. So, I put a challenge out there to every leader of every mortgage company that when you do a VA loan, it should be presented with a total cost analysis. That's what's in the best interest for the family. So, Rick, we're going to have you come on stage about, after Tom. Tom, first of all, I'd love to get your impressions of that. I don't know if that's the first time you saw the presentation or if you'd seen that before.
Yeah, Rick, that was really good. I love the fact that you're looking at yourself as a benefit administrator, and that's something I have written down and have stolen. So I'll give you credit, maybe 2 or 3 times, but after that, I'm owning it. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I've kind of passed my 3 times, so I'm kind of owning it from here out. Also, that's a mortgage coach idea at this point.
Whatever you guys can do to put more military men and women in homes is awesome. Use it all, guys. Just use it all.
Right on. So Tom, you know the theme of today's call. You got about 10 minutes. So think of this as like Scriptapalooza. If there's any scripts or words that you want to share, and then clearly we'd love to have you share a total cost analysis at some point. But why don't we just start with, how are you positioning yourself with a military family as an advisor versus a loan officer? And then we'll get into the TCA.
Yeah, that's a great question. And before I get into that, Dave, if I can, I was raised actually in El Paso, Texas, which has a very large military base, and my dad was a Vietnam vet. And if anybody can look back on that time in history, when those vets came back from Vietnam, they were not treated with any respect. In fact, they were treated with disdain, to the point that my father, who had the VA home loan benefit, never actually took advantage of using the VA loan. And it was almost as if he was embarrassed to tell people that he had actually served in the military. Things have changed a little bit, yet there's a lot of misconceived ideas in the market today about the VA loan. And so one of the things that's really, really, really important for me is when I go into the market with listing agents and buyer's agents, is helping them understand exactly what Rick said, that this is a benefit that our servicemen and women have earned, and they deserve the right to be able to use that benefit. Once you can kind of get past that, there's no question that the VA loan is the best loan for the consumer. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But one of the analysis that I do, and we have a guy at our company, his name is Amos, and Amos talks about the first time that he purchased a home, how he had been told that the only thing he could do was use a conventional loan. And so we ran this analysis that I'll show you here in just a minute that just shows that if a veteran will use the VA loan the way it's designed to be used, they'll actually increase their net worth significantly in 5, 10, 15 years. So we'll look at that here in just a minute.
I love that. And so remember, community, if you do have questions for Tom or any of the speakers, put them down below. We'll bring them into the conversation. So is there anything different that you share at the beginning of a conversation when you're talking to a military family? Is there any just, phrases you use, concepts that you always share with a military family?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's something that's happening all the time, but we thank them for their service. I mean, we make sure that we know, or that they know, that we are thankful for them. We're thankful for the freedoms that they've fought for that we can enjoy. we're thankful for the fact that we're sitting here looking at buying a home in a community that's stable, in a market that's stable. We don't have to worry about, battlefields and everything in our back door or backyard. And we just thank them. We let them know how much we appreciate what they've done, and we thank them and make sure they know that our goal is to serve them in an environment that's going to help them build their net worth.
Great. So let's get into the strategy at hand and that you want to share, and any words that you would use when you share this with a military family. Feel free to kind of like, we want to see what it's like to go through a total cost analysis from Tom Sherman as someone who's served. So share your desktop and walk us through it.
Yep. And Dave, I like to use stories because I think stories tell a great picture. But I'm going to use a story of a client that we've got that's moving here to Dallas. And the client was told by the real estate agent that the VA loan would not work for their purchase. Okay. And so fast forward, we've been doing this about 3 months. Initially, the agent actually did refer the client to us. And when I called the client, not understanding that the agent I had worked with had not sold the VA loan, I started selling the benefits. Hey, thank you very much for your service, and super excited to be able to take advantage of using this benefit. And the client said, well, why were we told not to use the loan? So I think the first thing that is really, really important for everyone listening to this call is make sure that your agents that you're working with understand the value of the VA loan before you sell that value to the client. Because if you're giving contradictory information, it can actually create some problems. Well, in this particular case, two offers were made using conventional financing. Because the borrower had just come off active duty, they didn't have a lot of cash. And as a result, they couldn't cover the appraisal delta on the loans. And so 2 properties later, contracts written, appraisals done, homes didn't appraise, the borrower wasn't able to close on a conventional loan. So we ran the total cost analysis and started showing this to the listing agents, that showed the listing agent that a VA loan was actually better for the seller in the event that there was an appraisal shortage than a conventional loan. And voila, contract accepted, loan will be closing in January.
Boom. Great
So
job.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I just said great job.
Yep. So I'm going to share this, the total cost analysis presentation that we've done here real quick. And this is not that particular buyer, but it's a very similar example. And what you're going to see here, if you're looking at the summary page, you're going to see we did a purchase price of $675. And then I went through the loan amounts with 5% down and then 20% down. And if you go down to cash to close, you see a pretty vast difference. And what's interesting is most listing agents would have looked at a 20% down offer, and that would have immediately superseded a VA no money down loan. Yet we were able to show very quickly, in this case, the borrower did have enough money for a 5% down payment. So we were able to show in this case, the borrower was actually able to come up with a $35,000 appraisal delta, still get 100% financing, and still end up with a lower monthly payment than they would have had with a conventional loan. Pretty incredible. And of course, you can go down. We also did on this analysis, and I showed this for purposes of exciting the buyer's agent, that if the borrower had taken that 20% down and just used 100% loan for the VA loan, invested that 20% down, you go down to this net worth screen. At the end of 15 years, they actually have more net worth than if they had put 20% down on the property. And we actually ran this analysis, Dave, which I think was pretty interesting. I ran it with 20% down and assumed that the borrowers, there's about a $700 a month difference in their house payment. I assumed that they saved that full $700 a month every month for the next 15 years. And even doing that, they still ended up with a higher net worth by investing their down payment and doing the VA loan. The brutal reality is we know that if the borrower puts 20% down, there's a very real likelihood that that $700 a month will be spent and won't be saved, which would have made these net worth numbers look vastly different in favor of the VA loan as well.
So I'm going to give first round of comments. So Suzanne, who is our director of e-learning, had asked for the link. If you could put a link to that TCA in chat, and if anybody's watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link to this down below. And I also have a feeling if anyone needs some help on how to do military strategies, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Pacific, Suzanne does a mortgage strategies training where she just covers mortgage strategies. So we'll post whether or not, I think we could do some military, some VA strategies this Wednesday. But Tom, if you could put the link. Rick, any questions or comments about what you just saw from Tom?
I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I'm just writing down some notes and some things that Tom said, and he's spot on. You have to show and educate the realtor partners, your referral partners, on the value of the VA and how it actually can save transactions. And I'm going to throw out one word, and I'll touch upon this in my time, but Tidewater. Tidewater is sort of the Willy Wonka golden ticket of VA. And I would probably venture to say 90% plus of our referral partners in America have no idea what it is, what it can do, but it's huge. And also the next one is reconsiderations of value. That's another important part of VA, which I would bet 99% of loan offices don't understand, and probably pushing 100% of realtors don't know. So Tom's right. You got to show the value of the VA, and that when you peel the onion layers back, it's certainly financially a better option for the service member, and certainly a better option for the seller.
Dan Keller, any comments or thoughts for Tom?
Yeah, both. Just piggybacking with what Rick said. So in my initial conversation with realtors up front, as our offers are going in, and I have a VA client, I mentioned that. And I asked them if they've heard of Tidewater, the Tidewater Initiative. And here's the big thing. I would probably just piggyback right on top of Rick, what he said. Over 9 out of 10 are like, I never heard of that. And I said, do me a favor. I'm not going to tell you about it. Google it. But I'll give you the bullet points. It's your best ally as a real estate agent if you have any doubts on appraised value. And so you just knocked it out of the park, Tom. Just beautiful.
Deborah, any one-to-many strategies after hearing that? Any advice on how to supersize that on social?
I always encourage my clients to go live. Anytime you go live or you add something to a story or a reel, the algorithms don't apply. And I say that not because everything you do on social should be about the algorithms, but it's about getting the value and the messages heard so that you are the connective tissue for those who need your services. Because there's people out there who need what you have and they just don't know where to go to get it. And if it's not shareable, hopefully your social media sphere is built off trust and referrals to where the moment someone heard a message like that. So today's TCA Tuesday for my clients. That's our theme today, where you take a TCA and you literally do exactly what he just shared. And you tell the story following the Renee Rodriguez sequence of storytelling. And you just provide the information so that people know where to go to get the help. So do that. If you are listening to this call, take a TCA that you've done in the last 7 days and go live and share your wisdom so that you can serve someone who needs it.
So Tom, there's a challenge for you to jump on Facebook Live and make a video and tell that story, and knowing that a lot of realtors, they'll think of a VA as a disadvantage to getting an offer accepted. There's probably a way you could tell this where you open the minds for agents, and you might even get some business. So consider that, Tom.
Absolutely.
Don't do it with Jim McMahon if he's there with you, because I was giving him some grief last week.
I'll tell him.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, we got 2 more strategies to get to. I do want to bring on Dan Rawich and share the Richard story. We do have an ask. As I said before, Dan shared this story about a month ago on a market update. Todd Bookspan and I committed $1,000 to help Richard. But Dan, could you tell the Richard story, and then let's give everybody a GoFundMe link?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Dave. And thank you everybody for being on the call. I'm learning. I hear this stuff and I wish I were a loan officer again, but I feel that way every time I listen to a mortgage coach call. Never should have stopped originating. but that was 20 years ago, so we should stop crying about it. I don't want to take much time because this is such great content. But Richard, definitely, sometimes you meet someone and they just get under your skin for whatever reason. And, you know, I met him by chance. I'll save you the whole story. But as I've gotten to know him, I realized he's had an incredibly tough life. And, you know, what Tom said about the Vietnam vets is truer than you could possibly imagine. And, you know, he heard it from his dad. I hadn't heard a lot of it, although I just missed getting drafted back then. So I think I was probably too young to even be aware of people coming back, but hearing from Richard what they went through was pretty horrible. And he only just used his VA benefit not even a year ago for the very same reasons, I suspect. So he's 80 years old, little over that, and he was blown up in Vietnam and has been partially disabled ever since. To make matters worse, he was hit by a bus in an intersection in 2008 and lost everything. He got a job hauling trash. I don't know if you guys remember during the whole, you know, foreclosures times where all these property managers, you know, their biggest problem is getting the tenants out or the owners out and getting the property cleaned up. So he did that to the best of his ability. And one of the property management companies really took a liking to him because he did what he said he was going to do. And he was homeless at the time. And they allowed him to stay in one of their warehouses. And which, by the way, he's been there ever since, in that same cold warehouse without hot water. But every penny he made doing he started buying stuff. You know, he bought an old trailer, he bought an old truck, bought an old tractor. And, you know, over the years he's done okay, but he's never left that warehouse, never quite had enough together. Then he learned about the VA and remembered that he could use that. So he bought the house in February. It's a great little house out in Red Bluff, and paid $287 for it. His payment's $1,470 a month. And right after that, it's like his body just started giving out on him. Nothing specifically happened, but Sophia and I watch him walk. You know, sometimes we see him in the morning and you could tell every step is hurting him. And he told me that it's taken him 3 to 4 days what he used to do in one day. And he's scared to death. He's got nobody in his life. He's got no money to fall back on. And one of his biggest fears is losing this house he just bought. He's so proud of it. We've been helping him because he's still in Santa Rosa. He can't even come to the house yet because he's trying to make every penny he can to make this payment. So we've been helping him. We've been helping him generate some Airbnb income. I said, Richard, I could help you rent this house for probably what your payment is. And he said, I just need to have access to it. I just want to feel like it's still mine. And I feel like if I get a tenant in there, it won't feel like it's mine. So that's why I think he really likes the Airbnb concept. Even when he comes here, he sleeps in an old trailer in the back. It's like he can't even see himself sleeping in his own house. We're here. We're renting. He's got an RV space out in the back of this ranch, and it's walking distance to my daughter and grandkids. So when we come visit, we stay back here. So we see him in this trailer, and he does kind of hobble into the house just to take a shower so we can get a hot shower. So long story short, he's got about $8,000 in credit card debt. That would be life-changing if he could pay that off. My wife actually had an idea that we could convert his garage into an Airbnb studio, and the Airbnb demand here is pretty impressive. So we could probably get $80 to $90 a night and probably generate $800. We're paying him $600 even when we're not here, just you know, for his basically RV hookup in the back. So that's the goal. If we could just help him raise enough money to pay off his debt, he could auction his equipment off in Santa Rosa and have enough money maybe to come here and finally enjoy his golden years. He probably doesn't have a lot of years left looking at him. So I don't know if any of you guys have these issues, but I don't know why, no matter how much money I've made in my life, I have this fear that I'm going to be broke. And so there's just like this fear of being old, broke, and with no family. to me, I can't imagine a sadder scenario. And I think that's why he got to me. It's like, I'm meeting my worst fear. And I know those things constantly are going to happen to me. It's dumb, but I feel it when I see this guy. So
Well,
that's it.
Well, Dan, you got an amazing heart. Dan Keller, I'm glad you saw that post on Facebook and, shined a light on it. My ask to the mortgage coach community, if you do donate money to help others, consider Richard. We're putting a link in chat to do that. Todd Bookspan and I, when we heard the story a a month ago, we together donated 1,000. Not making a specific ask. To me, it would be great at a minimum if through the mortgage coach community we were able to raise 10,000 to pay off debt and help. But it sounds like he needs more like about 18,000. 10 to turn the garage into an Airbnb space and 8,000 to pay off debt, and it would really make a difference for this Vietnam vet. Dan Keller, I know do you have any thoughts or anything you want to share before we get back to the regular program show?
Yeah. Hey, Dan, where are we at right now with total money raised?
Right about 3,000.
We're at 3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got to do better than that. We got to do a lot better than that. So what I want to do today is I want to throw 3 in there to double it. So we're at 6 now. Okay. And I talked to my wife about this. So Jenny and I both, we're gonna give $3,000. I'll jump on GoFundMe right now.
Oh my
But
God.
we got to get that up to 18. Let's just make that a goal. Let's remove this guy's credit card debt and let's build him out. Let's build out his garage into that studio.
Well,
Dan, I'm going to come eat all the Jenny's cookies I could possibly eat. Thank you.
Yeah, by the way, guys, follow Jenny Cookies on Instagram. She rocks. And Dan, that was super. Didn't expect that. I knew you had a heart for this, but that was huge, brother.
That's a lot.
So Tom, I know you got to jump pretty soon, but I know you have a heart for military. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, Dan, thanks so much for sharing that story. That resonated with me, and I'm going to go on fund and I'll throw in $1,000 on that as well. So thank you for what you're doing, championing him.
Thank you. My wife's hearing this in the background. We already put some money in, but she said we need to match Dan Keller's donation, and I think she's right. So I think now we're at with my wife's crying in the background. So with Tom and Dan and me, that puts us at 10. Wow.
Sweet. Well, we haven't even got this on our YouTube channel yet, so this is feeling mighty good. Hey, Rick, anything you want to ask or add?
Well, we're at 11 now because my wife and I would like to throw in $1,000 as well too. So
boom, guys. Well,
we'll do that.
I did all the speakers, guys. Remember, every time I invite you to speak at Mortgage Coach, I'm not asking you to donate money. So you're doing that on your
I
own.
agree.
I think we're setting a dangerous precedent here today.
Yeah,
I
right.
love it. I love
This
it.
triggered my guilt. I feel bad even.
No, hey, guys, there's nothing to feel bad about. We're helping someone in need. So, well,
Wow.
guys, let's wrap up. Richard, guys, the link is down below. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or whether you're watching this on Facebook, check it out. So let's get back to mortgage strategies. And Tom, I do know you got to jump pretty soon, so feel free to leave whenever you got to. And appreciate everything you do for this community.
Good job, Tom.
All right. So, Mr. Bettencount, jump on this virtual stage, share a VA strategy, and add as much value as you can. And then the whole panel here, we're going to ask Rick questions. Remember, community, if you have questions for Rick, put them down below. And Rick, do know we're going to need that link. Suzanne has pinged me again. We need a link to your TCA at some point. But
Yeah, I sent that over, but I have I put it in the chat box.
Okay, good. Then we already got it. We already got it. So good. Suzanne said that. So how do you approach, what are some of the opening scripts, words, concepts when you approach a VA family?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit about my background. I come from a ridiculously long lineage of military. I even had a great great uncle, who fought for the British and was killed in Gallipoli in 1911 or whatever time that was. Dad was Vietnam, uncle Vietnam. I've had 3 cousins in Iraq. I've had a cousin in Afghanistan, 1 in Panama. So for me, I tried to serve in the military and I couldn't because of my asthma. So we're just insanely patriotic. What I did, and for those of you listening, is I immersed myself in the volunteer community within my area. because I'm 73 to 77% VA. Like I said, in a non-VA market, I don't have any big bases. I don't have a Benning or a Lackland or a San Antonio. I don't have a Fort Hood. So I immersed myself in the military community, number one, and I volunteered whenever I could, knowing I wasn't going to make any money because I wanted to help. That's number one. I wanted to make a difference. And then I went into the education side of things. I educated the military community, but also importantly, our real estate community. And we want to teach them things such as, hey, the seller doesn't have to pay the pest inspection. It can be paid by anybody. And it's been that way since 2015, guys. They recertified pest inspection as non-allowables via circular. I talk about Tidewater. I educate realtors, the CE class. I go into a room, and all of us loan officers have heard this before, and I hate that word. But anyways, all of us mortgage professionals have heard this. Well, VA appraisals, they notoriously come in low all the time. We hear that all the time. But when I teach realtors for their CE class, I go, how many of you have had low VA appraisals? And they all raise their hands. And I go, how many of you know what Tidewater is? And nobody raises their hands. So it's kind of a mic drop, because now I'm like, I know you're not telling me the truth, because if you had a lot of VA appraisals coming low, you'd have a lot of Tidewater, but you don't. So what you're doing is you're passing on information from those that have been trained for 40 years that haven't modified with days and age, what's changed. So we talk about condos, we talk about ROVs, reconsideration of value. Learn some of the stuff that we are forced to deal with. Like, Dan's shaking his head like, yes, like reconsiderations of value, we can do them. VA just announced 87% of all ROV requests were approved or made some change in the last, I think it's been the last 12 months. That's a huge number, by the way, guys. And then the other thing is I immerse myself in the military community, learn the MOSs, what their careers were in the military, learn their ranks, what's an E7, what's an E8. And also another big piece that I do, which I think makes a difference. If you're working with an active duty service member and they're a captain, you call them Captain Jones, Captain Bagby, Captain whoever, Major, Lieutenant Colonel. They earn the right to that rank. And I call them by their, or Staff Sergeant or Sergeant Major. I say that until they say, Rick, let's make this informal. Call me by my first name. That is an important something that I do. And then, it's just, these are little things that I can certainly share with you guys on. But I wanted to talk about something we run into all the time, and I'll share my TCA. Let me shut off the video that I did for it. But we have a lot of veterans. 13% are using it, but 87% aren't. There's been 30% of market appreciation over the last 3 years. We have a lot of equity guys. We have a lot of veterans out there that want to refinance. They think conventional is the best because they don't want to pay the subsequent use fee, right? That 3.6% for a non-disabled veteran, I don't want to pay it. I'm going to go conventional instead. Well, let me share my little TCA with you guys. And this is what I use. I just recently used this. Make sure you guys can you see that?
We can.
You can. Okay. So this is an actual recent scenario where I had a veteran about a $650,000 value in his house. He wanted to do some cash out, and he's like, Rick, I don't have a disability. I don't have my 10%, so I got to pay the funding fee. We're going to go conventional. And I said, well, why are you going to go conventional? He goes, well, I don't want to pay 3.6%. Now I get it. It's a big number, guys. I totally get it. But this is what Mortgage Coach does. This is why it was designed. It shows you the benefit, and it shows you why this is the best option, regardless of the subsequent use fee. So here's what I did. I said, okay, sir, here's the balance that he has, his current rate, whatever. And I said, let's do a cash out refi, compare side by side, 80% loan to value, because that's what we can get for conventional. And I threw on the VA and laid it out. Look at that. Look at the difference in rate. Almost 100 basis points, number one. APR is short by about 60 basis points better in VA.
Hey, Rick, by the way, we're just seeing your Caliber logo. We're not seeing the actual TCA.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think you're showing the wrong screen.
Give me 1 second, brother. Yeah. You know what? You're right.
Yeah, no, I know.
Hold on.
And there we go. Now
is that better?
That's a lot better. But by the way, guys, scroll down to the bottom real quick. Just want to do a shout out to our integration with Experience and the fact that the total cost analysis has a nice little review. So anyways, just had to call that out to our product team.
Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. I have a couple of different screens open. So we're good now. We can see this, yes?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Good. So there's the layout, guys. Like I said, I had the value at 650. I set up the loan amounts, do an 80% loan to value. You can see the VA. It's about $18,000 more because that accounts for the subsequent use fee. Guys, conventional, you're capped at 80. VA, we can go to about 86.4% VA because you got to keep that funding fee as part of the overall loan to value. But look at the difference in rate. Look at the difference in the APR. Look at the difference in the payment, right? $180 difference. Now they're getting the same amount of cash back, but $100 and something dollars, $172 less, $178 less. But he liked all that. He was like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. And then the mic drop piece of this is you scroll down, and I love this feature, and I use it so often with TCAs on refis, is I show them the interest accrual in the first 10 years. And I go, sir, yes, you're paying a subsequent use fee of 3.6. It's an extra 18 grand. I get it. That's equity lost. Okay. However, even with that, sir, in the next 10 years, you're going to pay $20,000 less in interest, not to mention the monthly savings. And he was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Let's get going. So there's an insane advantage by using the TCA to show a service member what the opportunity is and the benefit. Now, latest figures that I heard is about 60-something% of our service members being discharged have a disability to some degree. So a lot of times the funding fee is gone. But how many service members are out there, probably millions, that haven't used it or refinanced lately, that don't have a disability, and you can expand your sphere of influence. You can open up the doors to a lot of service members for debt consolidation, renovation work, maybe grab some extra equity, buy a second home. You could do another loan for that one as well. So there's a lot of opportunity here. But we hear this a lot of loan officers saying, no, don't go conventional because don't go VA because conventional is best. You have subsequent use fee. You hear a lot of veterans say that. And I mean, Dan, you could probably match my math, but I think the only time a VA loan is really beaten, and it's because the way that the Ginnie Mae coupon is priced out, is a 15-year conventional will beat a 15-year VA just about every other time. I can't find any other numerical combinations where VA loses. But so this was a TCA that I wanted to share. I could have thrown up, conventional versus VA in a purchase, but this is a huge opportunity given the amount of equity and market appreciation we've had over the last 2 or 3 years, that even though rates are going up, guys, we can still go out there and help service members access a portion of their equity to improve their financial stability and their financial liquidity. So this is something that I use a lot. I wanted to share, and I thought it would be applicable for our community. Take a peek. That's what I was rocking.
Well, Rick, you rocked it. I mean, you brought the concept of VA benefit, which was a big idea, and everybody's got that as a takeaway. You talked about how to, if it's an active duty military, you refer to them as Captain Blank, show the respect and the protocol of military. And then this is a great TCA. Dan Keller, any questions or comments about this?
I absolutely love this and agree. Huge takeaway, calling them by rank. I mean, that is just such an act of respect, and I have not done that. That's an incredible takeaway, Rick. So thank you for sharing that. And then the stats, the 87% versus 13% that use their VA benefits. I know that might differ from, state to state, city to city.
Sure.
Just
Sure.
great. I mean, these are great talking points that I hope every loan officer listening to that works with veterans, you got to add this to your tool belt, man. It just makes you look so much more credible when you're talking to realtors and you're actually talking to a veteran. So awesome, dude. Awesome.
When you go out and, I would say the two big ways you love getting out there is educate the military community, but educate your realtor community as well. And that is when you become, my business model was a little bit different. There's thousands of LOs that close more business than I do, and that's fine. I think that's great. I didn't want to have 20 real estate agents give me 50 transactions per year, because that's some of the old way school of thinking. My way for my business model was I want 300 realtors to send me one VA loan per year. That's sort of the business model that I sort of created. And I have agents that I never even work with go like, hey, you're the VA guy. Would you do this VA loan? I'm like, I don't know who the heck you are, but I'd love to help that service member out. And I just got a referral the other day and they're like, yeah, someone was talking at a meeting and they said all VA should go to you because you're the VA guy and you know, and I don't even know who the agent is. So that's just something that I've done. And, but if you're teaching realtors, set it up in the middle of your class and then drop the piece on Tidewater and you will automatically become the local VA expert and you will 100% increase your referrals without a doubt.
So guys, just out of the call so far, you've got a lunch and learn with agents where you teach about Tidewater, you teach the agents about addressing, military family by rank, and then you do a couple case studies with Mortgage Coach where you're using Mortgage Coach to illustrate, meeting in a box, social media content. Deborah Bird, any one-to-many strategies that you want to pull out of this or leadership you want to bring?
Well, a question that I just got texted to me was what other strategies do you use when you're submitting an offer for a client? And let's say that listing agent hasn't been to one of your trainings. How do you help them in this market get their offers accepted?
So-
I think that's the elephant in the room is.
The elephant, that's it. So actually, guys, just FYI, the director of VA, John Bell III, is a really good friend of mine. And I talk to John pretty frequently. They're testifying before Congress tomorrow, December 8th, on the issues that veterans are having with getting offers accepted, right? So that's tomorrow is a hearing on House Financial Service Committee. I think I teach agents, listen, there's a difference between down payment and deposit. We use those terminologies as the same, but they're very, very, very different. I also have a slide where in my deck I show, hey, just because you got a 20% deposit doesn't mean it's a great offer. Just peel back the onions. That 20% could be a 621 FICO, 49 back end. The money was borrowed, and one slight modification, because the real estate community knows everything that we do behind the scenes, right? No, they really don't. If we do a final credit check, that DTI changes 0.5. Now you got to refer, right? So we have to teach to peel back the layers of the onion and say there's other things besides that. What I've been doing lately, and this is sad, I've been getting the authorization from my service members to share some non-public private information about their particular situation, as is what's your rate, what's your credit score, how much money you have in reserves, what's your residual income, what's your DTI. And I'll put this in an email and I'll say, listen, here's what they got and this is the offer. Then they come back and they go, well, why don't they put some money as a deposit, as a down payment if they have all this? And I go, they earn the right not to. They earn the right not to. And I go, so now, but then I'll fall back and I'll say, so here's what's great about Tidewater, Mr. Listing Agent. If the value comes in short, guess what? They're not putting any money as a down payment. They'll have some money to perhaps make up the difference in that shortfall. So it's a win-win all the way around. So sometimes it's a bit of a conversation, Deb, rather than just a simple email, but I try to talk to every listing agent about what I just explained. And we've had some pretty good successes up here in New England with that.
Well, and even if, do you ever show them a TCA to show where it's a better financial decision not to put their money down on a mortgage where it's so cheap to borrow if they reinvest?
I certainly tell them, I certainly use the TCA to show the service member, like, hey, listen, by the way, when we close, no down payment, take that money and reinvest it, certainly you're going to have a higher net worth down the line. Not to mention, oftentimes they want to do this instead, turn the basement into a man room or fix the kitchen or bathroom or something like that. But certainly, yeah, we highlight the fact that those funds can be used elsewhere without a doubt.
Because I would think when they see that side by side, there's truth in numbers. There's no BS there. It's like, this is truly what's best for this family. They could go conventional, but this is the better financial strategy for the client. And you're hoping that they can understand that and be willing to accept the offer. So I was curious on how you're helping clients.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Dan's got a phenomenal reputation in his market. So he's going to also win some great transactions, probably more frequently than others that try to help with the service because of his reputation. And I'm very proud to say I've got a very good reputation in my market. When I have a VA offer, the seller call, yep, Rick, I know you're good. So we're okay. So that's also another part of it as well. But you get that from being the educator, from being a presenter, from being an advocate, from being an ally. And then sort of takes some time, certainly takes some time.
So Rick, that was incredible. I want everybody to realize we are going to extend this call by 5 minutes. I don't want Dan Keller to feel rushed. And I know Dan has some killer strategies to share. So Mr. Keller, jump on stage. And Rick, you'll get a chance to ask questions or give comments, but Keller, jump on stage, and any best practices you want to share when you're approaching with a military family, and then share a couple TCA strategies.
Yeah, I think just like everyone listening, we're in a competitive market. So I spend most of my energy and have designed most of my strategy to help our veterans get their offer accepted. So I think in my 5 minutes or so here, I think the most value I can bring to this call, because Rick just absolutely aced it, is my strategy for helping in a competitive market, helping our veterans get their offer accepted. So I absolutely call every single listing agent before our agents and our veterans put offers in. And the call goes something like this. I introduce myself and say, hey, I'm so excited that you get to entertain our client's offer. I have amazing news for you. Our client has been fully underwritten, approved for the #1 loan program in the whole entire country. If there was one program that I could pick and choose, that you, listing agent, could pick and choose, it would be this program. You know what that is? And I ask them an open-ended question, and they're like, oh, great. Yeah, I see. It's a VA loan. Or they haven't looked at the pre-approval letter yet, and they ask, oh, great, 20% down, or is that? And this is an opportunity for me now to talk about the VA loan, fully underwritten, approved, all the things that Rick just talked about. But the call starts off positive. The call starts off that this is the best loan program. The next thing that I go to is, this is a benefit that my client has earned. Okay, they put their life on the line for you and I, so that we can do our jobs and do it the way that we do and make the money that we do. Okay. So I don't want to say I guilt them into being more open-minded, but I tee it up that it's the #1 loan program, and it's a benefit that our client has earned. And with all things considered, I mean, I get it, you're going to have multiple offers, but all things considered, please don't look at this, any negative connotations that you've heard about the VA loan. Don't look at this as a negative. This is a positive. And then I talk about Tidewater, and I asked them another open-ended question. Have you heard of the Tidewater initiative? And a lot of the times they're like, and I say, how much experience do you have working with VA clients? Most of the time, it's just like what Rick said. They'll say, oh yeah, I've had a few, and God, appraisals take forever. Myth #1. And then #2, we have issues with appraisals not coming in at value. And so I talk about my experience. Again, I don't have a huge pool, but 10%, 12% of our loans, we do at least 2 or 3 a month. And I talk about our experience, not in the past 10 years. Let's talk about in the last 60 days. I've had no issues with our VA appraisals. In fact, the one that we did get Tidewater called on, we were able to resolve that. We brought you, the listing agent, in. We brought the buyer's agent in. We brought me in. We put our heads together, and we figured out a solution for all parties. And so I keep it super positive on that call. Going back to a strategy that I do with the veteran up front, I ask all my veterans, initial phone call, when I make the call to them, and I learn that they're looking for a VA loan. One, I thank them for their service, just like Rick does. You have to do that. Okay. And you don't have to, you should want to do that. I've taught my 12-year-old son, when we're in the airport, or we're at the store, and you see a man or woman in uniform, you go up to them, you give them knuckles. You say, thank you for your service. Literally brings tears to my eye, because now I haven't had to tell him that for 3 years. And I absolutely love it. He does it to law enforcement, EMTs as well. So I think you thank them for their service, and you let them know that I am your biggest fan, your biggest advocate. #2, I ask them, what branch of the service did you serve in? And hey, if they want to talk about it, they talk about it. If they want to say Marines, that's it. That's fine. But now I know, back in my mind, I know. So when I'm calling the listing agent, I can say that my client served in Vietnam, in the Army, and then give a little backstory to that. So I think it helps. I think it helps with that connection. And then with the veteran, I always share my childhood. I grew up on the Navy base in Bremerton. My dad was in the Navy, retired Navy. And so I grew up watching my mom and dad buy a house. I didn't know this as a kid. The house that they bought was a VA loan. The house that they sold when I was in high school and moved to a different area, VA loan. My dad made about $3,500 a month and raised a family of 4 because of the VA benefits, because of some of the things that he had earned. So I always just share that and connect with them. I think the biggest thing that our veterans and our active duty service men and women, they need to know that to separate us from our competition, they need to know that we're an advocate. They need to know that we're a professional, we're an advocate, and we care. And I think when they know that, they're going to feel comfortable that we get to serve them, that we get to help them win. And then our number 2, we got it. We have to let the agents know. I think Dave and I have been talking forever about this financial literacy thing. It starts with us. And then we've got to let our agents know. We got to teach our agents to make sure that their clients know how important financial literacy. It's the same thing with the VA loan. It's up to us, share our passion, educate realtors. And then when we get that phone call with the listing agent, let them know too. They have nothing to worry about. We're their biggest advocate and we're their best option for getting this loan closed. And I always ask them, what's your biggest fear right now with financing? Appraisals. Cool. The VA loan is your best ally if you feel like we may have appraisal issues, because we have that Tidewater initiative, because we have that 0% down option. As you can see, my clients putting 7% down. They don't have to. It's a decision. So it's a decision they'll make. But I think those are the things that I think are so important strategy-wise, that us as lenders, we need to share the positive and we need to share the benefits of this amazing program. And I'm shocked. More lenders. I mean, I get referrals from lenders. They're like, I just don't know the VA loan, and I heard you do them really well. I got a referral for you. And I'm like, I'll take it, but doggone it, spend some time and learn about it. It is
Absolutely, learn it.
You should want to learn about it. So I think those are the few things. I have a VA cheat sheet that I give to all my realtors, and it talks about the condition of the home, the crawl space, all the things that a lot of my good realtors will come to me and say, hey, are there things that I need to worry about on this home for VA? So I send that out to them. I can post it. It's super simple, but I can post it in the group. And then one last thing, I had some notes here. From a marketing standpoint, when I was a younger loan officer and I didn't have a great reputation quite yet, I would go into, and I still do this, by the way, when I go into a new real estate office or I talk to a group of realtors, much like what Rick said, I go in and I used to go in and I just say, hey, I don't want your business. I don't want all of your business. That'll be earned over time. But when you think VA, I want you to think of DK. And it's worked. I love your strategy, Rick. One loan from 300 agents, one VA loan from 300 agents, brilliant. One VA loan from 30 agents, think about that. That's a career changer. So that's my strategy. I do have a couple of TCAs. I think our biggest thing up here in the Northwest with veterans, I mean, we're in a higher price point market. I think the biggest thing up here is, hey, I've already used my VA benefits. I don't think I can use them again. I'm like, no, sir, that's a myth. You can use them again. And then I get to go and talk about the subsequent use, the difference in cost. But if everyone's got down payment money now, you put 5% down, that fee drops. You put 10% down. So I think it's just educating them, showing them that you're a professional and you're an ally, and that'll go a long way.
Spot on.
Good, Dan. Hey, Rick, did you have any questions for Dan or any comments?
Dan's master. I love, Dan, we had, same as you, we had 3 Tidewaters in November that won. Tidewater came out, we got the comps, we got the value that we needed. It was a win. The agent's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we won. You talked about talking about your family. I remember I went to a Tom Hopkins real estate school years ago, like 19 years ago. It's called establishing commonality. If you can establish commonality with one of your with your customer, hugely reduces sales resistance. That was awesome. Your literacy, there's no literacy, financial literacy in our military community when they come out of the military. So the TAPS program, transitional assistance program, there's none of that. So you're spot on, dude. And as far as loan limits, because you and I are in similar markets, guys, HR 299, Blue Water Navy Act, no more VA loan limits. That's your second major conversation with realtors. You go, hey, you can have a podunk, community in the central Iowa, and the veteran can buy a $3 million home with no down payment. They're like, what? You serious? Yeah. And no more loan limits. So that's another big one too. But now Dan's just like that's just like, love it.
Yeah. There's some good tips here, you guys. Loan officers, learn learn from Rick and learn from some of the strategies that we're deploying. And it'll help you. It'll sharpen your skills to serve our veterans because they need a much better experience than they're getting. And I get one last success story. I'm a preferred lender for a builder. Went to him right away, and they're townhomes. They're considered condos. I went to him right away and I said, "What would it take to get these VA approved?" And he was like, "Really?" I said, "I'll help pay for it. I don't care. It's not that expensive." I talked him into doing that this summer. We've sold 8, 3 out of the 8 VA. It's a win. And it's something you can take to your builders and you can take to your realtors. And we, hey, our veterans deserve it.
Your last piece for Dan, I do the same thing. We use our TVD program. So if your lender should, your company should have the same thing. To make my offer as strongest, I will put them in full underwrite before we even found a house. And by the way, we've got a conditional commitment. You're good to go. So there's no reason to not accept it. That puts the onus on the seller for delivering a fair marketable title and a property that values appropriately. So take that off you, put it on them if you can do that. I mean, so that's something else that we do. And Dan just reminded me to mention that, but yes, spot on, dude.
So before we wrap this up, Dan, if you could just show, don't go through the strategy, but I want to make sure people get a number of VA strategies. So if you could show one on your screen. Mm-hmm. And as Dan does this, I want to read, this was a review, when you close a loan, you get a 5-star review. And this is my all-time favorite borrower review that actually called out and referenced a mortgage coach report. And this was from an active duty Marine. I'm just going to say his last name, Barrett. And this is what he said in his review. The time you spent with me explaining my loan options with the mortgage coach analysis. So clearly the loan officer had called it out like, hey, this is a mortgage coach analysis, wants me to find the past 2 lenders I worked with and punch them in the face. So guys, that's the other part of this that I think is so important, that when you're giving the benefit and you're showing someone the benefit, that you show it with the total cost analysis. So if you are a branch manager, a leader of a mortgage platform, I am going to emphasize that you do training with all of your loan officers so they know how to properly give the VA benefit. Properly way to give a VA benefit is with a total cost analysis. We are going to be talking about that in our training this Wednesday at 11. That Wednesday at 11 training, we're always teaching different strategies. So check that out. Dan, would you mind just showing one TCA for 30 seconds so people just get a feel for one of your ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is the one that I had prepared for you earlier today. So same thing. Rick and I were talking about this $3 million purchase price. They came to me assuming 20% down on 3 million, 2.4 loan amount. This is what I showed him. Okay. You could actually go 0 down. We have no overlays on VA, right? Zero down. That's what that would look. This is what that would look like. And then I said, here's your 5% down option. And then here's your apples to apples. Let's just compare the two. And so when we compared the two, the client's going to look at total monthly payment, which is their budget, and cash to close. What I had them do is go down a little bit further. Okay, let's look at this, because this was a home that they see themselves in for 7 to 10 years. All right, so let's look at the cost over the first 5 years. And what they were able to identify is that we have a savings here in 5 years going with VA. And then what they had me to, what Mike had me doing afterward is going a little bit deeper and talking about, the reinvestment strategies. Like if you went with this option, you put less down and you put money into the S&P 500, or showing the total cost over 7 to 10 years. And there's that paradigm shift after that 5-year period. And so same thing. When I share the TCAs with veterans, they say the same thing, maybe not as violent as that review that you just shared, punching them in the face, but they're super appreciative of all that. And then the education and that TCA was more of all right, so here, look at the difference of your funding fees with each one of these options.
Beautiful, guys. I am so proud of this call. So thank you for everyone that participated. I guess just because we're going a little over, Todd, you're going to wrap it up. But Deb, any one-to-many strategies you want to quickly get out before we close off this call?
Yes, I just want to remind y'all, I have a corporate account here and it's Texas. It's a credit union, but they can't do any government loans. So don't forget that part of your education may be going after other referral pillars where it's a different strategy and conversation, but they can't do VA, they can't do FHA loans. So don't forget to include them when you're doing your events and how you can network and go live and educate where you can be the person they refer their business to.
Ooh, nice catch. Mr. Bookspan, how do we put all this in action, and how would you like to tie a bow
Well,
around today's
holy
call?
smokes. Well, first off, if you're thinking about need some help on social media, reach out to Miss Deborah Bird, info@plugandplaysm.com. I think you guys have all heard us say it before. I mean, it's who Dave and I use to help us with all our modern mortgage and modern real estate summits. I use her for Win by Noon, and I just can't say enough great things about her. And, I've got half a page of notes, and I was trying to figure out if I could distill this into 3 takeaways that I would have, but maybe I'm going to go 4 or 5. But, I think number 1, as I said it when we talked about Rick's Modern Mortgage Summit thing, it is you are a VA benefit administrator. I just love that frame. I mean, think about yourself differently, and that is a way for you to differentiate yourself in that conversation with realtors and with your clients. I think you've got to, have the heart for it, right? You heard even how Dan taught his kids to go up and say, thank you for your service. And I know you guys have the heart for it, but I just really spend some time and think about it, because I think when you have that heart and you realize what these folks have done, I had a great uncle who lost his life in the military. My grandfather served and I didn't, and I'm super grateful. I learned from Bill Hart long ago, and just made me think differently when I was doing loans and talking to clients. And I would just encourage you to do the same thing. And I think the other big takeaway, you've got to get it. You heard both of these guys say we can go out and get more loans from more real estate agents by being great at VA, and it's not that hard. Just take a class. I'm sure your company offers one, or there's probably some great other resources you have, but be great at that loan. I learned early on in my career that other people shied away from it, and if I told people I loved it, it would be good. And then think through what Dan just did from a scripting perspective, and ask better questions, right? Rick talked about how he asked what their title is so we can address them properly. Right? Dan went through them, not just because he wants to learn about them, but also it helps him sell them to the listing agent. You guys all know that we talk about all the time, listing agent calls are important, but we know it's way, way, way more important on a VA loan that you've got to help them understand that. And I would tell you also what I've seen with my team, we've got some remote markets we serve where appraisals are, 30 days or more, and VA, that's a great benefit. You know what, guess what? The appraisal is going to come a lot faster. And that's actually worked out really well for my team, when they're competing for some loans, once they've educated the real estate agents as well. So last thing I'll throw out there is I'm teaching a business planning class tomorrow. I'll throw a link in here so that you guys can see that. I think we got a few more spots, and I'll be teaching a life planning class next week. I'll get you guys a link on that later this week, but would love to have anyone who wants to really set in a defined plan for yourself. And then at the end of the call, I'm going to have real estate agents on the call, so it'll be towards how as a loan officer or how as a real estate agent to write your plan. But I'll spend some time afterwards for loan officers who want to stay on to teach you how to then hold them accountable. So if you're a team leader and working with your own mortgage team, or you want to work with real estate agents, I'll talk you through how to do that. I'm super stoked for that call. It's one of my favorite calls I do every year. I talk really fast because I'm sitting at Starbucks drinking coffee. Had a half calf today for a guy who doesn't drink caffeine. So as always, you guys crushed it. Tom, who's not here, Rick, Dan, Deborah, Dave, I'm just always grateful to be here with you guys. Oh, and
all right, guys. So we are in wrap up mode. As a reminder, we dedicate this call to Richard, Vietnam vet. If you do donate money, please consider him. There will be a link in chat. If you're watching the recording of this, there's a link down below. And we're not asking for big investments. Well, a lot of folks on this call, put in 3,000, 1,000, $50 is fine. $25 is fine. Whatever is comfortable. Please consider Richard. And hopefully everyone who listened to this is going to do a better job of stepping up and being a hero to the heroes, and making sure that when you are helping a family that's got a military benefit, they're getting full transparency. They're getting options. They're getting the transparency of how those options are going to perform over time. And they're getting strategies. Hey, how can you pay off your home faster? How could you what would it look like putting less down and investing the difference? That is how we serve military at Mortgage Coach. So this call is a wrap. Have a great week, everybody. And thank you, everybody on this call. It's been fantastic.
Good seeing you all.
Good seeing you guys.